that. Yeah, 13-3 was TSM's way on the very first map, and we go to Ascent with a Vice, which is a different look from Stella, where they preferred the Cypher, and I think Roy prefers it too.
And that's why the rest of the composition is trying to overcompensate on the lack of that camera and early utility from trips or whatnot for middle, which is why you have this Yoru that can get aggressive lines and lock that up so that the rest of the initiators could use it for the mid-rounding of where their gaps could be. So pay attention to that. You want a strong start. I agree with Roy for the side of Stella. So you're going to have to be really in tune of how you're going to be able to try to find that information for your team first to set these up and just making sure that you read things correctly. If you're looking at it and you're just basing it on that previous map, TSM has been phenomenal at even anticipating where their early rounds are going to be taken from the side of Stella without even having to use too much of that util. And that's a lot off of the back of even how Timo was playing in these forward lines as a jet. You could do exactly the same thing right now as this Yoru, and the best thing is that you can even lock down that lane for a good 30 seconds because you have a TP that stays up while you're trying to hold that line, and you could still just escape if you're getting run down. So I want to see that type of playstyle come out from Stella to still come out with confidence and not worry about what just happened on that first map. I think that was probably the biggest point of conversation for the coach to the team, is just do not worry of how much we've lost from all the macro from beginning to the end on that first map of Haven.
Yeah, Stella are definitely a resilient team, going from runner-ups in stage 1 to making changes to their roster, being the champions of stage 2. But TSM, are they going to be overconfident? It's definitely a composition where I don't think you could come in guns blazing like last time. But
TSM will
be going over to be, yeah, TSM try to do just that, but it's actually just Chisora early contact. And man, they're just cutting TSM at the heel before they could even know what's going on. But Bora, good for 2. Good to send Stella back and to get TSM a foothold on what's going on. Before, how did Stella get all this map control so quickly? First pistol to Stella, and look who's getting up.
And that's what we're just talking about, how you can really play your defensive setups now that you have a Vice. The Vice is going to stay turtled up. All that util is playing towards that A site to stall, and you play it soft on that side so they can really lean more towards this middle and C site. So as you're going through, you're expecting some sort of a hit because it's been so quiet all over the map for the side of TSM. And you just go for these pop shots in the smoke to get an early entry, and that forces TSM's hand to really just try to execute in, and it got caught off guard into the stack. So very well done, very well placed, and at least the first check mark is there, anticipating where your opponents are going to be hitting, and you read it perfectly.
Just TSM have to learn, okay, you know that Cedrzorj is been around that market side, and you can just get pop flashed at any time. So TSM getting orbs this round and already setting up their lurk to go and get the A orb, and now getting ahead of the game is SW to hopefully try and prevent this from going by easily.
And so we're seeing, right, the early drone coming out before the minute mark, trying to clear out towards middle. They think it's empty, but this is where you can walk through. Look at that. You have Zanatsu potentially waiting to walk out of this smoke, or just holding that line, could TP back to help towards the A site. Now the executor is probably to get this orb if they're able to stall off the A site push on the defense from Stella, so that Vora can get closer to the Hunter's Fury.
TSM will get the orb after all, so now collecting gold and seeing what damage they can do, and
No way.
just sneaks his way in. And even though the injuries on SW, he still stands and he's able to trade in TSM. Well, they got the slow orb up there, so Stella barely be managing to escape after the shock bolts came flying from TSM, buying now enough time to get the plant down. And Stella don't have flashes, so this is gonna be tricky. Some nice flashes, actually, but that needs setup time, and Tino just has a stranglehold on this high ground. And Zanatsu, well, did get a foothold on this high ground. Drops, nice shot, but it is a TSM thrifty.
No way that GMD was able to come through right there, and Seven's going to send right back up to just chat back to the opposite side of the stage after they got the thrifty. The eco thrifty on top of that. They had nothing but classics. How did GMD get here? How did it catch the guy off guard? And as they pick up weapons after the plat, they have a Spectre, a Bulldog. The retake is not the best there for the side of util and weapons for Stella. So they were just perfect in the positioning, disrespected the paranoia thrown by SW. Close to close range for the right click classics 2 kill from 7. Damn, that was A very nice round, and that's going to slow down the pacing already from Stella. A solo peek out, trying to go for hero plays, but they are just going for extremity control to start for TSM, expecting some sort of potential aggressive plays coming out from Stella because they're on a full ego this time around. And as it quiets down for a bit, it's now time for TSM to move around the map, which seems to be leaning towards B.
If they could leave that orb for Vora, he would have the Hunter's Fury so early because they got both orbs on the on their save and then or on the pistol, and now they're able to pull off the Thrifty. Just when you thought Stella could just get some momentum going in the flash, man. It's Timotino as soon as he dashes in, finds a moment of safety, and Vora, it's like deja vu the way he comes in with these double kills. And TSM, huge dent into the defenses of Stella, as you would expect when they're running mostly pistols.
But still a nice action to start things off for Stella. The 2 times that TSM were trying to exec into the B side to get timing into Stella's util. And with that pick, though, it gives him a chance to get in.
Oh, you can't let your defenses slip like this, TSM, but they still have the better rifles. SW got an upgrade, and Paranoia will force TSM to turtle up within the site, so Stella take their angles. TSM find safety, and they try to strike back, and Vora is a force to be reckoned with. Drone reveals just how close Chisora is, and now it's the mind games, but also buying time, playing life. Vora just waiting for that spike to tick away, and Chisora takes fate into his own hands.
It will be this time of game, chat. We are going to start going back and forth here in the ecos. Again, beautiful picks coming through, and I would expect that they, once they take over the site here for TSM, they maybe had at least the checkmate into the round, because Vora with one of those picks had the Hunter's Fury, so he could be the last line of defense if needed be. But now that you saw that Timotino got caught off guard here at that staircase, look at that. So much value for the flash recon. It blinded so many players and even pinged so many players to get them all ready. But yeah, again, just to get back to that, Timotino falling down doesn't give him a chance there to play the Hunter's Fury, and then they just get egoed back.
I wish I was there in person, because like there's a lot of yapping going on. It's gonna be the battle of the egos, and TSM now, or having that Hunter's Fury, tapping to see, are Stella gonna want to check this? Because they did spot SW here before. Is going to take a more passive position. Now, letting TSM kind of dictate the pace of how they want to take this upcoming fight. For Timotino expected to lead that charge, but it's a Paranoia. Now TSM know that that's not going to be on the table. So they use that moment to engage, and Zanatsu shuts Timotino down. It shuts him up for good on that initial dash. That's a good punish against the duelist. Now how are TSM going to make entry without Timotino?
4-on-4 though. Drone just spots Alvin Boy, and Seven's trying to figure out if he wanted to wall himself up and try to go for a peek over the smoke. But with that offensive smoke that they just threw, they just want to cut noise for a bit, see if Alvin Boy can get an opener, and he will.
I thought that was going to be a double kill, but SW locking in.
One enemy
A lot more dependable this time around. Speaking of that, Vora always reliable. Like,
30 seconds
all the
left.
multi-kills coming his way from B to A this time, but
Spike planted.
job's not done. Gee, 1 versus 3. At least he has a rifle. He has the element of surprise, the mystery now coming through the door. That is closed, and he doesn't want to be too loud yet. And TSM are going to be right below him with a crossfire. Seven says, come at me, bro, with the Odin. He brings it out yet again for another map, and Stella were the only ones with an A, so yeah, true 7 fashion. Recon just enough of a distraction, and TSM even things up.
And even the wall, when you're seeing that's being placed up here by 7, he even uses it for the flank. You know, you're playing this patch right over here, maybe not the 11.8 08, but you're still having the stage buffs that allows for you to get some long range walls, and it could be used for them to wall off towards the door when they cross into the site. But instead, GMD TPs across, and once he TPs across, he sees that he's not getting shot from anywhere at the door side, so they don't really need to try to swing out the fight against that. So they just use it for the flank, double swing out towards tree afters, because they have the element of surprise after that, and Vora just picks up 2 kills right after. So Stella, despite going back and forth on the thrifties, TSM still had money to work with, and they're now breaking the econ from the side of Stella, who are going with their hero op in their round, interestingly enough.
to walk down with it. I mean, last time it was an outlaw to watch Min. He didn't see anyone yet, but Alvin benefits from this walk down from Stella, and Chisora is stuck in this corner, and help is nowhere nearby. Everyone's around the perimeter of the map. Now neural theft activated from Alvin Boy, and they'll know exactly where to go next.
Cover going out.
You see where they're pivoting to, not only with the insert of GMD, but these are some small details that probably I would probably have to underline too. When the neural theft gets thrown out, Zanatsu gets spotted with the rifle in his hand on the ping with the op. So they're like, okay, well, they have an op. The other ones are holding pistols. Let's not cross into the danger zone where it's trying to aim an op down from M3 down into middle. So they rotate all the way back towards the spawn. They support GMD. They get the plant down. And now it's time to hunt down where that op is going to be. Don't bring it into the next round, because if you're looking at it, yes, you have an ult for Zanatsu, but he's playing Yoru. It's not a Blade Storm going into the next round. So if you're able to eliminate this op, it's not going to be a huge rifle or a huge op to work with in the next round here for Stella. So already TSM are moving outside of the site and are trying to gun down the remaining member of Stella.
Natsu could get a lucky kill here. Ooh. 7 testing the waters. Big chance to deny this op, and just with the Odin, not the best thing to bring to an op party. At least we'll get to see the value of this op at another time, and usually that's been to watch mid, and TSM haven't really cared about mid control too much.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the last two players wanted to hunt him down either. They were towards B main and are also towards that pizza. And just losing the Odin on their side, with what just happened in the last 2 rounds and the thrifty that he got in round number 2, you could definitely afford it into this round as well. But that outlaw round is huge. So now you're seeing variety out of weapons as well. It's not just Alvin Boy going with the Phantom and finding timings on lurks. He's also able to snipe for the team, so that, you know, playing this type of composition for the side of TSM that uses a jet on the attack side, you don't really op in that sense, because you need Timotino to dash in and to find some space in that. 7 needs to move in with that Odin as that Sage, the battle Sage, to help him out. So you have your lurker being that op style. You've seen it from countless teams on the VCT stage. For example, the first one that comes to mind for me is Zelsis, when he's playing Vise with the operator on Corrode on the attack side. So it's still a great approach that they have here on their attack side of Ascent on how they want to leverage these weapons on different players.
Liking macro-wise that Stella are trying to absorb as much map control as possible, and seeing if they could kind of outrace or out-rotate TSM. Thinking about Zanatsu just being on the flank already at B main before TSM had before they made entry. But now that, you know, absorbing mid like that, TSM were ready with the crossfire, and that ended up being a trap that Stella walked into. So TSM are kind of aware of these gaps within the map and really ready to fight back, knowing that Stella are going to be there.
And this is why Roy was saying, hey, it's important for Stella to have a good start here on their defensive side, and the value that Cypher brings. Because even if you're trying to go aggressively on your line as a Yoru, the camera is being spotted, or the camera spots you or whatnot, you're not going to be able to have that on your defensive, on your attack side for Stella. So you need to be pristine here on your defense, wrap up all these rounds as much as you can, so that you still have the harder side to take with less util, but still firepower to hopefully close out that map.
If TSM can just group up, so if there's a victim to the op, you could resurrect it with 7, and 7 just has to be the one that doesn't get shot, which easy enough to be the last one in the conga line. But TSM now bringing their own op to this. Maybe they don't have to sacrifice a lamb to Zanatsu. It's just going to be a stare down through the X-ray of who's going to make that first move. And TSM are not as antsy as they were in the past until Timotino swings into the sightline of Zanatsu. And there's the resurrect from 7. Oh, wait, no, this Fury is trying to get him. And Timotino has to activate the dash. And a great read from Chisora still confirms that kill. But that did cost an ultimate to do that.
Costed 2 as well. Sidazorj used a null command super early in that minute line, thinking that the hit was coming towards the A side. So now you could continue to default, and you have less big stalls in ultimates.
30 seconds left.
That's going to snuff TSM trying to get into the A site.
I'm going to try and be in position to suppress TSM, especially before that Odin gets set up with how clunky it is. But Stella just don't have the manpower to do that. Alvin, man, what a double kill. Great management of pressure. In 12 seconds, plant down.
Left.
Alvin can go and be bait and lurk around, but Stella, speaking of lurking around, they could be coming around the catwalk side, but It's interesting that Guy is so focused on where did that Sentinel go, and now hope to coalesce around TSM. There's a dimensional drip pinging with TSM hard. It just doesn't matter. Advantage who? TSM still will not be shaken.
As I was just mentioned, there's not too much in terms of stalling. You don't have the null command anymore. You don't have the Hunter's Fury to stall here in the late rounds. So the Omen TP from GMD is perfect again, the same type of entry. But I was chuckling a little bit because I have to respect Zanatsu just trying to body block the Odin back into hell so that his teammates could just spam through the ceiling of hell and say, look, hopefully we're gonna be able to pick him. They weren't able to. He runs out of timer off the dimensional drift, and then they all fall like dominoes, unfortunately, not getting any value out of their 3 ults that he used in that round. Especially, yeah, you got down Timotino, but that's the only thing. You wasted out a res maybe from 7, but you didn't still get the round, and you're back into an eco.
Timotino's back on the op too, so at least with these more forward positions, you're hoping to just get a good headshot. Hey, don't underestimate what Stella can do with Sheriffs, okay? We all leaned forward when we saw
yes,
that
ace. That was insane.
All right, Sheriff versus op, who wins? You guys have time blocking your predictions. Oh, shucks, it's the op.
Yeah, Timotino's not going to miss those ones. And now it just opens up the door here for TSM to move in.
Exactly it. How flawless can it be for Timotino? You still have to respect Stella. And I think that's exactly what TSM had as a feeling when they had that ace hit against them back on Haven. But TSM, no more messing around this time. Don't need to throw away any unnecessary rounds. Oh, just the top of the head from Cedar TSM is gonna bunker down as best as they can. And in main, they stack 2 this time. So Alvin's gonna have backup here from GMD. And Stella been trying to go for flanks. TSM have reacted appropriately. And it won't be flawless after all, just Guy remaining. Shock bolts. Yeah, gonna stir him up, and wow, actually wins that versus Boris. So 2 weapons denied from TSM.
So many rounds on the attack side picked up for TSM so far, sitting very comfortably on their map pick of Ascent. And again, we just want to underline how they're also very similar in map pool. So it didn't really matter where we got to, because Blind at some point was still in the fray. If that gets picked, it's still 2 very good map for these 2 teams. So we're really evened up in terms of the comfort that we have in the map pool for both of these teams. But now I just want to focus into Zanatsu with the operator. There's been so many times so far that Timotino is taking value or trying to take space in front of that B site that maybe if you're going to try to go for an Allen Drone recon to take that space, it's going to be too obvious. And then if you're trying to go on catwalk, usually there's that camera from 7 out, or from Alvinborg, sorry, out there that's going to ping you. So, or you try to find value with the op with the A main, or you try to op passively in towards middle. And that's what Zanatsu's trying to do here, just to try to narrow down a little bit of these lanes to give a chance for the rest of the team to work out in this buddy system. You could already see it here, 2 of them working on that catwalk. So offside A, crossfire being set up here towards this B site, and Zanatsu's still trying to activate with the operator somewhere.
Stella are not going to go for a preemptive strike this time. They've been punished a few times, but they knew someone was there after recon being shot. So front and center, Stella hold B. TSM get to hunt for orbs, and Vora once again being close to that Hunter's Fury. That'll be helpful if they care about getting that. Guess not.
That's a good knife. That stalls the util. He got info as well. That's an early rotate, a 4-player stack for Stella. They're playing this round perfectly on the defense so far. That might allow for them to get the 3rd here.
30 seconds left.
Now the op gifted to Vora, the dash in, and it's just so precise, so quick. No punish from Stella this time. SW though focuses in on that duelist and trusts the initiator to close the door on A.
And that's where it's going to get difficult, right? So you understand where you've been punished when you're trying to find aggressive lines at the beginning of these rounds with Zanatsu with the op towards front B side. So that's why you place this Vise, 1 on that A side line, but you also have the Razor Vines towards B. So that if there was actually a hit on that B site, there's still stalls on both ends. So that you really focus on middle at the beginning of the round to try to get a pick with the operator. It doesn't. You rotate him around. He still has another TP. Gets the perfect pick there onto Alvin Boy, where TSM hasn't really activated around that map. So they still have so much good stall util towards the last second hit from TSM. TSM has to do a little bit better to be proactive here.
I know exactly.
Well, maybe not.
Man, Stella's trying to change it up, from being more passive to being aggressive.
Oh
And
my
Zanatsu's
God.
used to carrying, but TSM are just kicking them where it hurts. But it does cost TSM. Don't always walk away with all 5 in these engagements, but it is an open site, and SW will be on the way, I guess.
Spike planted.
Proactive they were for TSM after getting that pick onto Zanatsu. And it was questionable. It looked like it was a jump peek, a little bit old school Counter-Strike 1.6 style to just try to land on your feet and try to get a pick. But it was also on top of util to help you out, right? You had the recon come out from the side of the defense for you to try to get that line, and you're just trying to surprise players as they're potentially looking up to try to break the recon. The small mistake, unfortunately, is that they didn't know how many players of TSM were starting off on this B side. Little did they know it was actually the whole freaking team. So he gets picked off, and then the other ones just gets owned. And I think that was what Chisora trying to fall back. He was getting sprayed, shock darted at the same time. You have no escape, and that doesn't allow for you to unfortunately get the perfect hold here, despite still having good numbers and a good read at the start.
A strong half. Okay, once we get the fist bumps going, now we're locked in, and it's awesome to see TSM just in their first match just already look so confident, look pretty consistent across the board, and definitely giving respect to Stella and just ready to adapt, whether it's Stella flanking, Stella being proactive, Stella being passive. Like, TSM are ready for anything the Brazilian team throws at them.
At least they have another op now for Zanatsu, and he's not going to try to go for some aggressive lines this time around. So post it up into a passive angle, but now you're trying to be more proactive elsewhere. You did see a little bit of a jump peek on Catwalk early, nice too, and that's what we're talking about. How do you find early information to get your op good value? So the knife was avoided. The Aljo already comes out. And now the TP is going to come towards the A site.
SW kind of caught off guard, does get that kill, and is trying to be in a different spot to catch Tibotino's dash, and this Hunter's Fury is finding everybody. And now Stella are just even further behind, and it's actually a TSM pivot with just the two. Look where Alvin Boy is!
Yeah, but he knows.
Player standing.
He knew. That's a smart play here, and it's the heads up play that you have on the side of Stella. Everything calms down for a bit. There's no more real action happening towards the A site because you actually did a good job to stop them in their tracks when they're trying to enter towards that smoke, through the smoke with the assist of the Hunter's Fury. So then Guy's like, well, there's got to be that lurk from Alvin Boy. He's been lurking on us throughout Haven, so wins that 1v1, and it puts Vora into a scenario with an op to try to clutch a 1v3.
Oh, Stella got to be careful how they swing out of this. First, the flash makes Vora uncomfortable. And another one, and Stella, don't know, is he from main or is he within the site? And TSM don't want to, or Stella don't want to stack up against that when they are able to deny the op and the round from TSM.
Very nice, yeah, and it almost looked like the read was perfect from TSM into the mid-round call. After they went for the exit, they knew, even look at that ping on that radar right now, they knew about the TP of the Yoru on the top of Heaven, but he focused on getting the one at Hell first because he saw the omen off the ping, and then tried to take the first one, but a little bit too late. You just made it out on time with the op, so you couldn't really allow the lurk to happen from Alvin Boy. So again, it was a good adaptation from Stella right away to put these players onto the A site once they realized here from the Aljon and the knife that it was potentially one of these extremity hits. So they gambled to have more towards the A side. They have to TP on that side, and then they're able to hold it out.
Even in moments where I thought Stella looked awkward, like if it was SW trying to figure out, do you want to go for early paranoia? He readjusts, he falls back. He had backup from his fellow initiator. And Stella are doing more of a body system. They're grouping up and they're trading a lot better than TSM just running down the individuals of Stella on the defense back then. And it's looking like a much stronger Stella team compared to how the series started.
Agreed. And you're even looking on both sides. They're not really screaming as much because, one, Stella got shut down as soon as he got thrifted on that second round. But even in TSM's camp, they're like, okay, well, it's not as brute forcey as it was on that first map of Haven. They're not trying to run it down against us as much, and we're not trying to do the same. They have to work a little bit harder to try to manipulate the map around for TSM here. So they're a little bit more serious coming through. And when they're actually going for these blow-ups into whatever exits they're trying to do, they're pretty much being stalled here towards this A side, having a little bit of success towards B. But it is still not as easy for TSM to close out the map like they did on Haven. So you have to think things through a little bit. But as you can see, you have to think to themselves, because we have a technical pause that we just saw here on that stage. I think that's what Technica means. Oh no, it's Tactica now. So we went from technical to tactical now, and TSM is going to start talking to each other.
I know, I'm glad they have the translation, because, well, we have Dryad around here, we can always ask, but this is the closest the game has been between these two teams. Like, Stella are really starting to scratch the surface of what TSM can put up. They're not as dominant as they were before, and I think it's not as consistent. Timotino sometimes gets shot when he's dashing in. Sometimes he does make his way in, and SW knows his job is to deal with the duelist, and then everybody else deal with the reinforcements. So there seems to be a plan for Stella on how to deal with TSM.
Exactly, because if you're looking and you're trying to base it back on that first map, it was basically Stella trying to play full rotate every single time here on, well, the few rounds of defense that they played. But even on the attack side, anybody that's trying to play like roles of like lurks or whatnot into the mid routing was never really available, able to do, rather, because they kept getting dropped and pushed down by TSM in these lanes that they're trying to take. At least on the defensive side, those that were a little bit quiet, that we didn't talk about too much here, from like Guy or SW, for example, still has their hand into the pie, into the value that they have for these 4 rounds that they picked up so far, because they're able to do a great job to just stop TSM in their tracks in these late XX. So TSM a little bit more proactive now this time around, a 3-2 to try to break util on B.
Different look from TSM, prioritizing that mid control, and Stella have simplified their defense, but steel guard and pop from Guy catching TSM, and now that'll just force them to change their minds and to follow up with the other split of TSM that is teleported onto A, and GMD marked. SW further back, space and time to react, and that's all Stella has to do is react and conquer. But TSM left with just 2, and 7 has the resurrect, but the body's back towards main and kind of the direction you want to go with this dimensional drift and the resurrect. And now Bor will be a victim. You just keep feeding the beast, and Sanatsu gets away with murder.
And SW standing back up again. I don't know if it was probably a fake ace because of the res. If not, it should have been 6 kills in a round there, but it's still a big round for Zanatsu. I was just about to mention, this is twice now for 2 rounds that GMD is able to TP across into the site, but just misses the duel against SW in the site. That's twice that he's shut down in that area. And it doesn't give a chance here for the rest of TSM to get into these scenarios to really go for a plant when 7 has to commit to a stick. There's basically a 1 versus 3 on site against an ult. Very tough to do. Now Stella are looking primed to close out at least into an even 6-6 half before we move into the next. But TSM still has a pretty decent buy. A couple of rifles around the 2 Spectres, and the rifles are in the hands of those that could do some good damage.
Zanatsu has been the best player on Stella, like number 2 in opening kills in the entire region. Dropped 32 kills in the grand final of stage 2. He's the one you can depend on. But last round of the half, we'll kick things off. It's TSM already making their way into A. What a beautiful paranoia on the swing. But Timotino is still around. Just damage brings SW down to his knees, and Timotino is still screaming away. Now there's no command. Let's throw a wrench into things. Now Timotino at least got the job done, and it's not even over yet. How is he still alive? Any stray bullet could end Timotino at 4 HP. Okay, I stand corrected. It'll take another bullet, another marshmallow his way. Bora has his back. Timotino scouts 2 versus 1 on the post plan for TSM, and Guy will need a band-aid and will need a better half coming up for Stella.
Exactly. He's going to need some time to breathe, and he's going to get it after TSM converts the last round and take the lead and continue and maintain their lead. Sorry, moving to the second one, 7-5. But that said, how does Timotino stay alive for so long with Blade Storms getting a pick on top of that off a KO swing? The vibes are back for sure for both of these teams, and this is looking to be an electric second half they're about to witness here, and a chance for TSM to close it out, but still some good fight coming out from Stella to try to push this onto a third.
Just such good resilience from this defense of Stella, like really starting to take the time to learn and adapt to TSM.
I'm looking
Well,
flank, flank.
clearly the biggest threat has to be Timotino and how you can shut him down, because that changes the entire dynamic of this TSM team. But there's a pretty fun dynamic in the crowd right now, and I hear Pala is up there, so let's go check in with him.
XR, cara, mano, tô aqui no meio da galera com o nome com certeza vocês conhecem. Tô aqui com o Pala, que já foi jogador da STE, já foi jogador da Fúria, e eu quero saber um pouco dele, se ele acha que os caras estão meio em choque. So I'm here joined by Pala, former STE, former Fúria, so I want to ask him from him, what does he think is going on with the team right now? Você acha que os caras estão em choque, mano?
Eu não diria em choque, mas é a primeira vez deles na LAN, né? Então é um nervosismo muito grande e, cara, é muito difícil jogar 2 vezes pela organização e estar aqui na plateia vendo isso. Dá vontade de pular no meio da arena lá pra jogar o round, mas é isso. É manter essa torcida alta, todo mundo aqui vibrando muito e torcer pra eles ganharem.
So he basically said that maybe they're not in shock, but the nerves, of course, are kind of difficult to deal with. And it's very hard to be here just watching. You wanted to be there playing with the team as a former teammate of these guys. E rola spoilerzinho aí da onde que o Pala estará ano que vem, nada a ver?
Só posso dizer que vem notícia muito boa por aí, hein? Me aguardem.
Novidades em breve. So I asked for a quick spoiler of where he was going to play, and he said news are coming soon. Tá aí, esse foi o Pala.
We are so back. TSM, though, we're still up 7-5 going into that second half, and Stella need to put up an even stronger of a fight now that they're swapping on offense.
Yeah, looking forward to see where Paulo is going to be going as well. Some experience into MIBR and Furia at the main stage of the VCTs. And yeah, no spoilers we're able to take from that. And just as to chime into what you're saying too, this is definitely not going to be an easy run for Stella moving into the second half. We just talked about here how it'll be difficult for how they could try to get information on their attack side with the lack of a cipher with the camera. So this is why you're probably going to see Chisora staying pretty much at the hip of Zanatsu to be that Sova, to try to find info for his teammates so that they can try to get an entry. But he's starting off with the Sheriff, so they won't be able to drone up towards middle at the start. So you're definitely trying to play the range to try to take catwalk control as a group.
More prioritization for mid for Stella overall. It's been cool to see the different approaches with compositionally to how people maneuver the maps between regions. And Stella, the wall is up, and well, Zanatsu also benefits from it. We'll be maybe split from the team. They'll follow up soon, and TSM meanwhile will be right on their tail. Cat and Mouse, Tom and Jerry, Timotino is even going to flank through spawn, so there's going to be angles to TSM. Many threats being created. SW will be left behind that wall, thinking TSM are going to follow up with it. That's still good information to know. It won't be a market push, but rather split front to back from TSM. Stella have their backs against the wall with the objective down. This should feel pretty good. But things are quiet. TSM show face, and the cards are on the table. And Zanatsu does what he can. Timotino just better, but he's still got one remaining. He has no idea where SW was. Coming from market down the stairs. Timotino 44 HP, but he's got plot armor. SW appears, and the defuse didn't get halfway, and SW makes his mark.
And stands up one more time after winning that 1v1 on Timotino. But that was such a close call and a good pivot by TSM on that 2 versus 3 when they go back and they lost their teammate, a 2SW at market. They're like, wait, the door's closed. So we could just play back a 2v2 inside that site. And as they do so, Timotino tried to find that timing, gets his 2K right over here, the 2-piece, and anticipates that the third one's just behind him in the smoke and is trying to surprise them. But unfortunately, SW played it very patiently around the smoke and got the round for them. Props to them to be able to get that insert at the beginning towards Sabrosa to cut all of the action.
Wow, speaking of action, just immediate from Stella. Timotino tried to surprise them, gets punished, and that's the name of the game. Can Stella punish TSM? Because they're the ones taking the initiative, and I like that Stella are falling back to more of a reactive style, but now on offense, they gotta write a different story. Man, the brawls are going pretty well, bringing out 4 weapons into the bonus.
That's a great start, already tying things up. A 7-7 scoreline. Chad, you know what was the scoreline before that, but we're not going to talk about it. That said, though, that was something that was very neat on their side. We just talked about the first map where, You know, they lost both pistols and the bonus rounds. They won the pistol over on this map and got equaled right away. This time, things are looking pretty decent. They're getting the round. They're converting here the anti-eco, and now they have a pretty strong bonus to move into the third. This might be looking good here for Stella on their attack side, as they're still trying to manipulate the B side of that map. Very quick, once again, trying to continue this conditioning into this pivot on the B side.
TSM are going to have multiple anchors to this B site, including Timotino is ready to cut them and trip them up, but it's Alvin too at the front. Too many lethal threats for Stella to deal with, and at least they still have the spike.
Silver lining. Yeah, and I was expecting here for them with the conditioning towards that B site to get some sort of an opportunity for SW to activate a little bit more. Yes, he got GMD down on that side, but the rest of the team kind of still one geared up towards that B site, so they never really had a chance to escape out of that area to move and meet up with SW earlier than expected to try to get the plant. At least they'll get it, but they're gonna have to face on a 2 versus 4 in this pulse plan. So door will eventually close at this part. They won't have a wall to work with to try to play the pulse plant, and it's up to SW's fort position up on heaven to try to win this round here for the team.
If there's going to be that big of a stack towards B, I worry how Stella are going to try and address it, especially when the Sage can just deny any of those entries with a good wall, and that's why 7 has been bringing more of this compared to the initiators, but complex to really anything TSM needs, but we'll see what Ford can do on the flank. Crossfire, Stella are ready for it, and SW just juggles all of that, and somehow TSM still come out on top.
It was looking so good. I was expecting for both Stella to try to swing back towards that spawn because they were positioned for that. They had the Razor Vines, and he could swing out to maybe try to get a pick and then slow down the rest. That was the initial plan. But when he went for a triple flank from TSM on the top of Catwalk, yes, you're able to get the first kill, but it gets traded out, and under the chaos, you're calling, oh my god, there's still 2 more players. The second one staying behind tries to help out his team, which is Guy, but unfortunately, you see that late lurk coming back out from the rotate on the side of TSM to capitalize that round. But it was still a pretty good bonus round that was inserted here for the side of Stella, as only 1 player from TSM stayed alive. So economy is not going to be the best. Outlaw could have been a good weapon to use here on your attack side, but looks like Zenatsu is committing into trying to get a rifle so that they could stay with this hip-to-hip action with Shizora to take the early mid control.
Smokes in place to allow that to happen. You got a neural theft too from Alvin Boy, but not going to be getting that pick he was hoping for. But if things stay quiet at B, maybe he could pull off something. But Stella are trying to kind of anchor their own spawn a little bit better, knowing that TSM can really throw them for a loop. Sanatsu's ready to get active, to get involved, and just spots Timotino, but he's just better and earlier.
Look how far he could throw the wall up there from A main. He throws the wall and already is instantly still back at A main. Speaking about 7 to play with GMD to hold the A line. Just good defensive planning with a new bust from the Sage. But here's the pivot from Stella back into the B site where they have that 3-player stack to rotate from the side of Timotino's. Perfect.
Stella just have to play so fluid because of that Sage wall, and now they find themselves right into TSM's hands, and wow, Zoid just comes out flash, comes out with 2 kills. You just can't stop him. Numbers are equal, though. TSM coming up from behind, though. One still anchoring. Alvin Boy doing what he can and emerges, and Stella take care of all of them.
Oh my gosh, some players were caught sleeping at the wheel, and that was Timotino. I think it was a moment for him to look at the minimap and did not expect the KO to run through Zoid to just pop forward, because he wasn't even blinded by the flash, and Zoid still wins that fight. And it's uncommon, at least based off recency bias of how Timotino's been performing in the series, that he loses that fight. And then look at that lurk that you have inside that smoke. That was perfect here for the side of the defense for TSM, but you just couldn't capitalize on that kill right there. Right there, Alvin Boy should have had that onto Guy. Guy somehow wins 2 fights of his own. And now TSM's on an eco. Stella has everything in hand to be able to take the lead for the first time in the series.
That momentum from the first half of TSM being up 5-2, and like you said, it's It's even and Stella in the driver's seat who have slowed it all down. Now that there's no smokes to utilize, they kind of have to use the drone to get vision into mid, because that's going to be uncomfortable with so many open entries. But making contact first will be GMD with a crossfire setup with Vora. Sanatsu kind of getting their attention, teleports out, and TSM left with question marks.
Yeah, and apologies. This is the second time that you've taken a lead in a series. Remember, they won a pistol round but got ecoed right away, so that's why it was very forgettable. But you're seeing TSM, they are rotating very quickly because they just put the safe wall up in the first place so they could try to gamble around. They're still staying as a death ball, though, to fight towards B.
Stella instantly break that down, and just when the TSM thought there was a sense of safety, they had denied it, expecting the pivot. Well, TSM, all they're getting is death. Stella just shooting them from all sides, and TSM don't know where to look until it's too late.
Not too bad, though. Some good damage. And I just love how we're getting rowdy for the side of SW every single round that they're taking here. And finally, the Brazilian crowd is standing up with them as well. The thing is I thought that there was going to be an opportunity for Timotino to get so much, because it almost looked like he was being avoided by, you know, the pathing that the Yoru was taking inside that site. Zanatsu felt like he was a little bit off. He did see at least 7. But then Timotino could have surprised a few, but the shots did not connect. But at least for TSM's side, it did some good damage. But for Stella, the question marks were there. How are they going to perform here on their attack side when it looked very heavy for TSM on their defense, or on their own attack side? But Stella's doing quite a good job here to calm down that storm that came from TSM from the beginning of this game.
SW definitely earning his spot on this roster.
Retrieving
Just such
flash.
an incredible ascent from him, from anchoring A and supporting his team so well on the right side of the map to making plays of his own. And that's what you need. It's what you demand of an Omen player. It's TSM experiencing their first deficit in the series on something that is their map pick, with the desk described as TSM's go-to map. So Brazil definitely bringing the firepower, bringing their Yoru into the site soon, setting up their smokes first, but null command activated from the offensive side, so TSM won't have much to say about it unless they just simply shoot back, and 7 just delivers his corpse, and SW Zanatsu covering all the bases and swinging for a home run. TSM just backing away and respecting this, and now going for an alternate
30 seconds
look as Vora heads to the door, but sitting in main, Stella just have everything watched. It's gonna be hard for TSM to have an opening, and as soon as Timotino made sightlines happen, he just gets flashed, and now he's just playing mind games against Stella.
Player
As
standing.
Vora can make a play. No, he's shut down. Like I said, Stella watching everything so well coordinated, and they get up to double digits.
Yeah, and the thing is, for TSM, it looked like it was, you know, an opportunity to save at that point when you lost so many players. By the way, great entries by Zanatsu. He had 10 HP, TP'd into the site, and still got a beautiful 2-piece with a little bit of a micro adjustment to get that second kill on to 7 dropping down. But when the Razor, or Steel Garden, sorry, that was being thrown here on the attack side was out of the range of the op of Timotino, after he gets this pick right here, yeah, it makes sense for you to try to go for it. But then after that, when your teammate falls down, he's like, oh crap, I gotta try to go and save my weapon, especially the op. He tries to run back into it, makes some noise, and gets sprayed down. So the window was gone after his teammate died, and I respect that at least tried to go for the play, because they've been pretty good into these, you know, timing peaks that they were doing on the first map overall on defense. This time not working out, so it forces the last time out from NBS on the camp of TSM.
It's a good time to try and ice out Stella, because they're getting confident or getting loud. This is the biggest win streak that they've been on, and this is how momentum starts. This is how win gets in the sails of Stella, who hope to steal away one of TSM's best maps in their pool and send us into a third, which would be an insane turnaround. But a lot of the players from Stella, I mean, have never, I guess, international stage, quote unquote, this is still Brazil. This is technically their turf, but to be on a stage as important as this is unlike any individual Stella has ever seen. And I like that they're really starting to find their groove.
Especially Zanatsu, you're seeing the numbers that he's putting up right now in the second map for Stella, and the numbers have been consistent like that in the Brazilian scene. So it's another one of those games here, chat, where you know you have a slow start from the home team. You're trading maps potentially, and everything will get decided on Lotus. Where again, I feel that this could be another one of those chaotic maps. But let's hold that thought. Timotino's trying to find a timing here. Already Bladestorm close. He has support from Vor in the back with the recon, so he could maybe activate dash if it gets shot, and he tries to dash away back through the smoke. But that timing's now gone. The smoke's about to disappear, and he has to play the one and done.
TSM have a forward position on A, so they could even surprise Stella on multiple occasions. Stella gonna hit this softer side of the map, now having to have a pretty early drone just to clear through main, and Timotino does end up finding that timing, and getting rid of Zoij is pretty important.
Yeah, that's big flashes around the paranoia they could use, but at least they still have Zanatsu. SW just picked up a kill and could TP around the site right now for information. So a nice little trade-off towards the end. But remember, this is an eco for TSM. If Alvin Boy could come up huge here, it might still be doable from the Bladestorm of Timotino.
Oh man, Sora was just ready. And Stellar just like that they're covering everything. No one is watching the same angle. They're so well coordinated, expecting TSM to be on a side angle, to be on the flank, and to not really give TSM an inch. Thorns, though, are going to be in Timotino's way as Natsu faces off against the other duelist. The knives can't make contact, and Seven can't do too much damage either. So 4 weapons moving forward there for Stella, and they're ramping up.
Starting to see it shine right now for the camp of Stella, the Brazilian side. They are playing a lot more aggressive, disrespecting even the value that Timotino has, the good crisp shots right over here. Look at that. These type of kills have been consistent for Timotino this series, yet Zanatsu wants to run through that smoke, and then as it dissipates, goes into a duel, a showdown on that lane, and he lands a strike on the 2 pins on the top of heaven right there. Despite this being an anti-eco, this is the type of confidence you want to start building here, because if you're able to push this into a 3rd map, that's exactly what's going to start rolling and turning the gears to get the machine rolling for the side of Stella on Lotus.
Trip be in the way of Zanatsu if he cuts to the left, but dimensional drift, he'll hopefully be able to spot this setup, which is something I wish he did better on Ascent. I remember he got hit by his own friend's Hunter's Fury, so Stella, though, have managed a lot better through this chaos. And this was just going to be an orb grab and back to mid to really open up these options. SW, though, is not too deep into A.
Seven's been holding on to this wall, too, so they're double winding on that hold on the A corridor. But after the jet dash that disappears, I love that we're going instantly into the B side hit. This is going to be a 5-on-3 with this TP. Maybe that gets canceled out. Nope. Looks like GMD was able to commit into it. Here comes a brawl into B.
Where that dimensional drift uncloaked, so smart for TSM, but just a small scratch on the main character energy of Zanatsu, who still holds on to the space, allows the objective to still go through, and Seven will want to just save this, I'd imagine.
Seven only has 6 kills so far in this defensive side or overall on this map, but also he hasn't been as contested onto A. Stella's been doing a great job just, again, running these defaults and wasting out the early util, especially the dash from Timotino in the beginning of these rounds. I kind of have to question into the replay what kind of happened there in the back of that B site, because with that TP back into B, they still have a hard anchor on that backside. And usually you could paranoia recon to try to overtake that B site, but was anything missing there? I wonder if they actually missed the flash. Did they throw it? Did it miss the flash overall that Zanatsu was able to get such easy kills towards the back of B? But that was the first time that I'm seeing TSM missing a little bit of that synergy to really try to hold out these sites.
Getting a taste of their own medicine, too. Of like, man, when Stellas start winning, they just haven't stopped. It's now, what, a 5-round win streak? What kind of helped TSM scale up the good vibes, also talking all that smack. Now Stella are getting to experience that and how much better it makes them play. And we'll be seeing a 3rd map very soon unless TSM lock in for one final time. Now it's mid. TSM gonna actually try and contest it. Timotino looking for that timing with the Guardian, and Stella leaves a spike behind. So if they take any risks, they Won't be losing out too much.
I totally forgot about this. 7 has an Odin out, and I felt like I haven't really had a chance to see that going on the side of TSM's camp on a defense at least. Looks like they were pressured with very low econ throughout this whole second half. Now it's going to start getting interesting, but have they picked up enough rounds here to try to bring this back into an overtime? You have Rez to work with. An early pick could get them some information, but we're going back into the mid round that's been very strong for Stella so far. Recon, he gets shot right away. They're breaking this wall. You might try to fight this.
Spamming through the smoke. Bora gets that. That's insane. And Stella is caught. Now the Hunter's Fury for the offense to try and bite back, so they scare TSM into submission, or to at least not take up all the space or get too confident from the first pick they got. But Stella just keep dropping, kind of went in blindly, and TSM had the trap set. So TSM will be seeing more rounds very soon.
Yeah, and throwing that side smoke was perfect there for GMD, especially when they had the numbers over on that A side already. You didn't have too much util left. Everything was being sold already from what 7 threw initially. Sorry. So throwing a side smoke was perfect to even allow for them to have an extra obstacle to work around on this 3-player stack, and they just dropped everybody on a side of Stella trying to move in. So yeah, as you've mentioned, they're going to be able to see another round here for TSM. And you're starting to see them getting a little bit more rowdy, at least for the side of TSM. The confidence is starting to come back because you have such a clean round on that hold. And that was a spray through a wall even on top of that. That was a nice read by Vora after droning, after reconning, and it gets shot right away and tries to find the timing.
You're finally seeing a more slowed down TSM too, one that's not getting free entries and kind of being able to dictate what happens in this map. It's more Stella now who are able to rewrite the chapters going forward, still on match point, still one step away from that third map, where to go from losing 13-3 to winning maybe on TSM's best map, like this series, this keeps going. It's not going to be over until we know for sure.
And out of this timeout, I'll be intrigued to know if we have any big ults to work with on the attack side of Stella. And if we don't, or even if we do, I want to see TSM in this timeout to try to shut that down right away, to not give them a chance to set up for these type of execs. Remember, we have an Odin play for 7. I would love to see maybe some sort of recon dart wall bang into Blink, because they have been defaulting a lot from Stella's side into the mid control in the very beginning. Some sort of aggressive shark attack. It almost seems like it, because you have Timotino getting ready to move here towards this B side with support from Vora, but there's not going to be the support from the Odin from Catwalk to get value out of that. So maybe you're just trying to block that lane and prevent them from getting the extremities at first.
Let's see if you can set up that neural death there from Alvin Boy. Timotino is hoping to deliver that kill, but Stella continue to watch to see if a B flank would ever happen from the defense with that Vice wall in place. But Stella now watch over different sides with that mid control. Finally get to see what they can do from Market side, knowing where that anchor is, immediately executes. And Natsu not letting Alvin Boy even think, deny the chance at the neural theft. Let's see if 7, I mean, 7's on the other side of the world, so he can't even go for that resurrect.
And it's so loud right now, you can hear the crowd, so Timotino cannot have a chance to hear the walk up or any util. He gets one.
Trade. Stella still continue to layer up and support each other, and the momentum builds to get to that finish line for map 2. 7 may not even have time to resurrect. He may just try to cut through Market to see if he can, but even then, it is enemy territory. This is Stella Gaming set up and ready right where TSM want to open that door. Door is closed, so Warhu is able to get back on his feet. But Stella are just striking on all sides, and it's just 7 now becoming the battle stage you were hoping to see, Vans. But there are too many players from Stella, but wait! 7 gets away under pressure. Diamonds form 1v1 to extend the TSM.
7 gets his own hero clutch to keep TSM in the game. A sigh of relief Like, he's not standing up. He just wants to make sure that he stays focused so that the rest of TSM can continue and rally behind that huge clutch that just came out there by 7. I was with you, Lemon Kiwi. I thought this round was over already. And we just had the round flipped on its side with the spray transfer out from 7. That pick onto the KO on top of that with the wall bang with 9 bullets left in that chamber that he picked up on that ground. And the Econ's still good, at least for the side of Stella, though. They don't have alts to work with yet. A slight advantage on the side of TSM as they have Hunter's Fury and an op to work with on their side. And they are looking to be proactive.
Stella want to see what TSM does when the ball is in their court for them to put their pawns in position and Stella hang back. But now they've really revealed how far back they are. TSM wait at the front door to greet Stella with a firm handshake, and even though the shock bolts come out, Seven's not focused on that. Alvin with a double kill, but now it's walled off, so the neural theft can't come out, but TSM maybe just playing for the long game at this point. Slow orb though. Maybe the neural theft would have been available, but I think you also don't want to peek into that. You don't know how many more of Stella are on the other side.
They're even giving audio cues away, picking up the orbs. I mean, you are trying to play the long game, because even if you lose this round here and you actually lose to the Zorge in the process, at least you'll have a null command to work with into the next round. And that might be the game plan overall. Just save your weapons into the next. Try to pick that up because the null command would be perfect to allow for you to entry with the rest of the team. Try to bait out Vora's ultimate early in the round as well and try to close this series, or sorry, close the map. And try to push this onto Lotus. If not, an overtime catch up by TSM off the back of that clutch of 7 could be really the nail in the coffin and what silences you here in the rest of this game.
I didn't want to see any Valorant anyway. So many people still alive. Jeez. 'Cause yeah, it is becoming a marathon. Map 1 felt like a sprint, but Stella, they're starting to hit their prime. This is the Stella that won stage 2 in Brazil. Now getting to that performance they were hoping to deliver from scrims to those matches to here against North America's, or well, against TSM, against the #1 seed. We'll see who really is the best after this series for now. And this is the first match. This is where you really set that tone.
You're seeing that they're working on the extremities for the side of Stella, just to try to make sure if they could confirm an orb that they could pick up. The knife doesn't get info, and that might be the plan to back up and try to focus more over on the B side. TSM, though, on their end, they still have the line locked up to look down towards A main. That's Timotino holding it from Wine.
Timing too, because there were threats of a flash, and SW falls. First blood for TSM for being down 8-12.
Oh,
Catching up to Stella. They will not be able to punish Timotino. If anything, GMD is supporting these shenanigans. And Stella have backup plans to take mid control. Shockbolt doesn't land where maybe they wanted to in that corner, but TSM now know what's coming, and it's the Hunter's Fury that pierces through the middle of the map. Did that just tag his own player? Anyway.
Tried to clone, trying to move forward too, so at least Stella, they know that there's this util to support the B site on their hit, so the last 2 players inside B will have to stand up here and stand guard. That's 7 and Alvin Boy in the back.
Such good delay with the slow orbs and the trips. Stella, they cannot hesitate. They have to execute. 1 within the site, 1 at the back. Alvin Boy will emerge, gets tagged, chooses a different route. 7 trades, but TSM need help, and it's on its way. 4 with the multi-kill. 7 doesn't need no help. Call 911, but it's for Stella.
Whoa. And you can already see it. Only the first row, the 4 fans of TSM in a CBLOL arena are standing up super loud while everybody else, the Brazilian fans, are just seated and quiet. And that play right there, I cannot fathom the double peek from SW. Already when you didn't get the information, the one-way kind of slows you down. You keep it across, you try to fake it. You're trying to get that orb, but you need to use a little bit of util to really try to get a clear peek into Wine, just to try to pick up that orb for the KO. But after losing that, there's no smokes to work with. You're trying to just brute force your way into the B site. But the defensive smokes thrown by GMD into the site to help Seven inside that area with Alvin Boy was just too much for Stella to handle. And it's time to go into overtime.
Since TSM broke that win streak, starting at round 21, TSM have locked in. They've closed the deficit. They enter overtime, and they could still end this on their terms. Now facing a bigger challenge than ever before. Went from hesitation to just no doubts in TSM's mind on how they want to end this. They'll start on offense. 7-5 half is how that went for them. Stellar are not happy with how quiet things have been.
Just stalling. A stalemate right now for both sides. Again, Stella has been very good in terms of their attack side at least, and TSM as well, and both of them have found success into these slow plays into the mid-round calls.
Not ready yet.
That said, though, the mid-round that they have from TSM has not garnished too much value. They haven't gone too much inserts. This might have to be just a hit into the B site. Even last Alvin Boy on the lurk.
Yeah. Timotino with the delayed dash. Stella knew this was coming after they had the flash from Guy taken down, and there's layers. This is gonna be a war, and TSM find themselves behind, but at least within the site to have time on their side, and Stella unobscured, worried about who could be still hanging back in main. Now we'll eventually confirm that only one left. It's the planter. Seven is down. He was heroic before, and it's Stella up first in the overtime.
A great start as well from Stella, who's been struggling on the start of the defensive side against TSM. TSM, remember, they had such a strong start when they ecoed their opponents, and then finally you have to grind it back to get 5 rounds on your defense. But this time, full weapon, stronghold, and glass cannon off on a side of Zanatsu, and to plow through the molly to get the pick. That is the confidence coming back once again here from the side of Stella. And the attack side, where they have found success in their gun rounds as well, might finally be that room that they needed to really try to finally close out this map for the Brazilian side.
TSM, just one of the most resilient teams you have in North America, going to playoffs, going to Ascension time and time again, and not always coming out on top, but leaving proud at the end of the day. And this is going to be the best look from TSM, the best roster with these additions, to try and go all the way to the end this time. But Stella, match point here, got in mid-control. The drone will be able to get it deep enough to go after Timotino, and there's not that immediate execute from Zanatsu this time. It's over into Catwalk, trying to cut into A, and it's a good swing from GMD. 7 trades, and TSM back in the numbers advantage.
They lost a player in the process, so Seven, even though he gets these trades and locks up the Catwalk, you're going to have to play the retake into the A site. There's a wall that at least slows things down for a bit. That gives a chance here for Timotino to set up himself with his own glass cannon. Up! That gets denied here by Chisora.
That's big. That safety net is gone. The wall has been broken down, and Stella, this is their ground. This is their turf. And Seven, Bora, Alvin Boy have to reunite for potentially final time in this map.
Spike planted.
Seven's watching mid. No flank is coming. Sights, focus, forward. Stella below. Now SW trying to take the initiative, and there is Sora with the recon, but he's brought down to 14 HP. TSM coming from tree, and now it's trades back and forth, and at the end, it's Stella that shines, and we'll below this.
And they get the Brazilian crowd behind them. An awful start on the first map for